get poked? I so wish I could really poke you. I think that's going to trigger me for a long time. Every time I say, are you ready to get poked? I wish I could. I really wish I could, friends. I do. I have had a slow start to this morning, a slow start to this podcast. I have already had a cup of coffee, which that also took me like an extra several hours to get to. And then once I got to it, true to form, like I'm doing with my tea right now, it was a beautiful cup of coffee. I put a lot of energy into my coffee, a lot of detail, a lot of precise steps. It's very much like the herbalist and doctor in me. So I have this beautiful, curated, gorgeously composed cup of Joe, and and then I let it get cold because something else needs my attention. And I'm down to the point where, right, like the worst, well, yeah, I think the worst ways that I do it now where I push myself too far is something like that. Like, you just made this beautiful hot cup of coffee. Like, sit down and enjoy the hot coffee. Like, don't let it get cool and then you have to reheat it, or by the time you get halfway through, it's cold. Like, and I'm saying this to myself, right? This is my meditation to myself. This is my healing to myself. Like, Laura, stop and enjoy the hot coffee. Well, okay, but this is just going to take a second. And it used to be that I had that habit of doing that, to the point that I would break my body. I feel sad for that woman who did that. I did that in my 20s. I still did it a little bit in my 30s, but it got better in my 30s. I would say by the end of my 30s, I had really healed that part of myself, to the extent that I no longer hurt my body. I'm trying to look at the camera on for YouTube. It's good because it's in direct eye line with me looking out the window, and I love looking out the window. It was a little too bright earlier. I had to close the shade. It was giving me snow blindness. Yeah, so anyway, I don't do that to myself anymore. I remember one of the last times I really hurt myself. Was it the last time? Maybe not the last time, but one of the more significant last times that I did it. I literally pushed myself to the point of having to go on short-term disability. My back just stopped working. My back just said, fuck you. I literally fell to the floor. I was chopping. I had been in pain all day. I had a list of chores and errands and things that I had to do. I had been in pain for quite some time. My back was kind of tweaked. It's always my low back. When I was younger, it was my upper back, and I can talk about the significance, the emotional significance of that shift and change, because we can have change in symptoms like that as we get older and as we somatize pain differently and as our body adjusts to take things on in different ways or to hold in different ways, because the body will always hold for you. I think this is something that's really important to understand about the body, because we separate the body from the brain, which is silly because the brain is also the body. Not only is the brain, the brain is directly integratedly connected to the body, right, which is the spinal cord. That's just brain tentacles, which is a part of the brain, and it goes everywhere in every part of your body. So your brain is in your body, like in a literal way. It's literally in your body. I went to that bodies exhibit. I went to a few of them. I went to one in Vegas. That was a smaller one. I went to a really big one at USMC, not UCLA. It wasn't UCLA. It was the other one, USC. USC. I lived pretty close to USC. And they had a bodies exhibit there. It was huge. It was awesome. And I saw an entire nervous system pulled out of the body, just laid in plexiglass so you could walk all the way around it. It's incredible. It's an entire network. It's an entire IT network within our bodies, like way before we invented fucking, metal and plastic IT. So your body, I was talking to somebody about this morning, is literally the truth, right? Whatever you're not consciously thinking, what's not in the frontal lobe of your brain, the rest of what goes on chemically, which chemicals are produced by what? By feelings, by our experience with the world. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, hearing. These things inform our bodies about what's going on around us and how to respond. And the responses are generated by that feedback. And then thoughts and feelings occur through a chemical, energetic process in our bodies that are incredibly complex. Not only do you have the brain, right, the central nervous system, and then the peripheral. So peripheral is the nervous system that comes off of the central, which is the brain. So that's all your nerves. They go into every organ, they're in your skin, anywhere you can feel anything inside your body, every part inside your body, every little bit of you. That's your brain, stupid. So when you feel stuff, a pain, an ache, something chronic, it's your brain is talking to you. But we go, oh, I'm just going to shrug that off. Like, okay. But then you get caught up in worry and anxiety and depression and everything else, but you don't listen to the actual feedback that your body's giving you. So something else that can be helpful about this, if you go back into my recordings from 2022, I think, 2021, 2022, I don't know, when I started Patreon, I talk about the organs, right? I talk about the emotions related to each organ. And I think it sounds pretty for some people and cool. And I think really, if you listen, you go, oh, wow, that's interesting because X, Y, and Z. Like, that's every human because there's deep truth in it. It's not just wishful thinking or some magical spell that somebody made up in a cabin somewhere in a cauldron with spiders and frogs and sticks. It's like people information that people have observed and collected over millennia. Millennia, is that right? Is millennia 1,000 years? I think it is. Pretty sure it is. So yeah, many millennia. Can I just say millennia? This is where, I generally know how to speak in my vernacular, but I'm not fleur de linguist or anything from TikTok. Oh my God, I love her. Mm. She's such a nerd. She takes like accents from all over the world, and in different regions like of the US or in England. Every accent you can think of. And she talks about how it became that, like in a story like way. Like it's so cool. Okay, I'm way off track. So I'm discombobulated today, as you may or may not be able to tell. Um, I'm also trying to navigate the new medium of recording videos and still staying present for my podcast, which is where I really want to be. I think I've kind of figured it out. I think I'll have to go back and look at the camera, because what I'm trying to do is sort of avoid looking right at the camera, but I also want people to get a sense of me, because I've been told that sense of my presence, of me connecting is part of it. And I agree. It's something I do in the clinic with people that is it's about intimacy, it's about trust, it's about authenticity, it's about being safe to exist and be observed existing and then be helped. That's what I do in my office, or what I did in my office. And in parts and pieces, I was able to do it on TikTok with intention. And then I think sometimes, as I went through my own journey post COVID, unintentionally, just by being my charming, lovely self, I lost some friends in some very dramatic ways, because people sometimes do not respond to me well. And I get that. I get that. I get that for anybody, anywhere, like we're all capable of being received incorrectly, but I will say that often when people have a bad reaction to me, this is how I've seen it. This has been my experience of it on my end of it. Like throughout my life, varying ways, right? We all have patterns and whatever. I think it used to be like I had an edge to me, like I could be mean. Not because I wanted to be, it was just like there were some things I didn't know how to deliver with kindness or grace or I don't know, couth, I don't know. I was just an asshole. I was a kid. A smart kid living in a bullshit world. Um, so I would like say, yeah, well, I'm an asshole or whatever, like in my own head. I don't know. Like, yeah, like I understood that people, whatever. But as I've become more wise and capable and kind and mature and, fantastic, sorry,